So it is that time again, and we are back with some championship score predictions. Coming up this weekend, we have got some massive games, which I'm very excited to see what you guys are predicting. So as always, all this weekend's fixtures will be listed in the description down below, so that you guys can easily go ahead and make your score predictions. And then if you do successfully manage to get any of your score predictions correct, then your comment will be included into the next video. And like I said, we've got some really interesting games going on this weekend, and some very tasty encounters. If you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like, it is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you subscribe for some regular championship content. But without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and hop into these fixtures. And so to kick things off, we've got a huge game going on tonight in the championship, the Steel City derby between Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday. These games always do tend to be quite tasty, really, so I'm really interested to watch this one. But it's fair to say that Sheffield Wednesday, the away side, aren't coming into this game on a good run of form. They've lost their last 4 games in the championship, and defensively, they've been looking like an absolute shambles recently. We saw them at the weekend losing 4-0 at home to Norwich City, where, I mean, that's got to take the confidence out of them coming into this game. Defensively, they were absolutely woeful. Norwich were getting in behind that defence in the second half like it was absolutely nothing, and considering some of the players that Sheffield United have got going forward, they really could hurt this Wednesday defence. Sheffield Wednesday, though, going forward, they do have players who can hurt the Sheffield United side. Sheffield United, of course, losing their last game in the championship, but it's fair to say that these two sides' seasons have largely contrasted so far. Sheffield Wednesday found themselves 17th in the championship, whereas Sheffield United currently find themselves 3rd, just 1 point off the top. So a win in this game can take Sheffield United top of the table, albeit that may be temporarily, depending on the other results this weekend. But for this game, I do have the feeling that there will be quite a few goals scored, really. With Sheffield United's defence, it has been fairly strong so far, but Wednesday have got some decent players going forward. This is the sort of game where Adam Reach steps up for Sheffield Wednesday with an absolute banger or something like that. But just considering how poor the Sheffield Wednesday defence has been, I've got to be backing United to win this one. So I am going to predict a 3-1 home victory for Sheffield United. Don't get me wrong, Sheffield Wednesday could pop up with something for this, but with how their recent performances have gone, I'm not too confident. So I'll say 3-1 United, FIFA saying 2-1 Wednesday. And then moving on into the Saturday games, we've got Birmingham going up against Hull City. Quite an interesting matchup, this one. Hull still sat in the relegation zone, however they have won their last 2 games, and overall their performances have been quite promising lately. Going up against this Birmingham side, who will be looking to bounce back from their first defeat in quite a while, actually, last weekend against Derby County. The second half of that game, they weren't really at the usual standards, but returning to St Andrews in this one is a good chance for Birmingham to bounce back. With how these two sides have played so far this season, I don't anticipate too many goals to be scored in this one. Defensively so far this season, Hull have actually been a pretty sound team, and I am interested to see how Birmingham react to losing their first game in quite a while this weekend. Don't get me wrong, it's going to be a different sort of test for Birmingham in this game, going up against Hull opposed to Derby last weekend. I expect Birmingham to have a bit more of the ball in this one, but I do feel like it's going to be tight, and it could be that sort of game which goes 1 goal either way, really. But I will just back Birmingham for a very slim 1-0 home victory, and FIFA's also going to agree with me for that one. Tough one to call, that game. Next up, we then see Blackburn going up against Rotherham United, two of the promoted sides coming up to the championship this season, and both of them have managed fairly well so far. Blackburn especially on the verge of the playoffs at this point in time. They picked up a good victory last time out, a 1-0 home victory against QPR, albeit it wasn't their best performance of the season, but they did manage to get the job done in the end. Bradley that getting back on the score sheet as well, scoring the late penalty in that game. Rotherham also coming into this one on a nice run of form after they won in their last game as well. We saw them beat Swansea 2-1 at home, albeit it wasn't the best performance from Rotherham United. They maybe got a little bit lucky in that game, obviously scoring 2 penalties to beat Swansea. I expect Blackburn to have quite a bit of the ball in this one, but Rotherham have done well so far, making themselves resilient, hard to break down, and going forward they really can hit you. I am just going to back Blackburn for a 2-1 home victory. I feel like they'll have a little bit more than Rotherham going forward, but even so, it's going to be another tight game this weekend. FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. Then next up, we've got Bolton going up against Swansea City. For Bolton's last win in the championship, you have to look all the way back to September. They've had a really torrid time recently, only sat 1 point above the relegation zone currently, and scoring goals has been a real problem for them. Their last game against Aston Villa, though, I did think there were a few positives from that. They were getting into some decent areas, but even so, scoring goals has just really been a problem for Bolton so far this season. Going up against the Swansea side, who you could argue the same could be said for Swansea at times so far this season. Don't get me wrong, they're a fantastic side to watch. Some of their build-up play is absolutely excellent. They create a lot of chances per game, but sometimes they can be incredibly wasteful. We saw that in their last game against Rotherham United, and so far this season, Swansea have struggled with some of the sides nearer the bottom of the table. You know, we saw them lose against Ipswich, we saw them lose against Rotherham as well, so maybe Bolton can take a bit of confidence from that going into this game. But even so, with the way that Swansea like to play, I feel like they'll have a lot of the ball for this one. Whether Bolton can hit them on the counter-attack or from some set pieces and be clinical with those chances is yet to be seen. I am going to back Swansea for a 2-1 away victory. I feel like they'll need to rectify what happened last week, where they should have gone on to win that game against Rotherham. But even so, I will back Swansea for a 2-1 away victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Swansea. And then next up this weekend, we got Bristol City going up against Preston North End at Ashton Gate, and a really interesting matchup this one. Of course, Preston coming into this one, still on a decent run of form in the Championship. We are unbeaten in our last 6 games. Of course, Chris Maxwell, our goalkeeper, will be suspended for this game. I expect Declan Rudd to come back into the side for this one. Bristol City have still been a little bit inconsistent so far this season. You never really know what you're going to get from them. Obviously, in their last game, they were defeated 3-2 away at Reading. So far this season, Bristol City have struggled against the sides near the bottom of the table, so I think that Preston can take a bit of confidence into this game, especially looking at our head-to-head record with Bristol City. Preston are unbeaten in our last 10 meetings with Bristol City, and we've won our last 5. There just seems to be something about Preston playing Bristol City. It always tends to be a brilliant performance from Preston, so I'm hoping we can take that into this game. Obviously, Preston going forward, I do think we have got players who could hurt this Bristol City side, especially looking at the way they were defending against Reading last week. I think that Preston going forward definitely could exploit some of the weaknesses in that back line. If Preston are playing to our optimum ability, we can get something from this game. I think it is important as well. Even though we are unbeaten in our last 6 games, we're still, you know, right on the verge of the relegation zone. So we need to be turning a lot of the draws we're getting currently into wins. Although for this game, I'm not sure that's going to happen. I'm going to back it to finish as a 1-1 draw. I don't think there'll be all too much in it between these two sides. FIFA's going to say it'll be 2-0 Bristol City. Tough one to call. Then coming up next, we've got Derby County going up against Aston Villa. In my opinion, this could be the game of the weekend. A really interesting matchup, this one. The home side currently find themselves unbeaten in their last 6 Championship games. Been playing some fantastic attacking football recently. A lot of their forward players on sparkling form at this point in time. Harry Wilson, one player especially who I've got to pick out. Really do enjoy watching him play. Going up against Aston Villa though, who have been, you know, fairly inconsistent so far, but you do feel like they are starting to find their rhythm under Dean Smith. Their last result in the Championship, a very positive 2-0 home victory against Bolton Wanderers, albeit that was against a side who was, you know, near the bottom of the Championship. This game against Derby will be a completely different test for them. But in terms of Aston Villa, one player who I would like to see more of this season is Jack Grealish. I'd like to see him be a lot more influential as he was in that game against Bolton. And so the battle of midfield for this game will be a really interesting watch, and it's a tough one to call. I do still feel as if this Aston Villa side is a work in progress, and with how Derby like to attack, that defensive lineup for Aston Villa is really going to need to be kept on their toes. You know, James Chester's going to have another absolutely massive performance from them, but I am just going to back Derby for a 2-1 home victory. I think they've got a little bit more consistency about them so far this season, so I'll say 2-1 Derby. FIFA's going to say a 1-1 draw. I'm really excited to see the outcome of that one this weekend. Then coming up next, we've got Middlesbrough going up against Wigan Athletic. Lately in the Championship, Middlesbrough have been drawing a lot of games. They've drawn their last 3, and, you know, some of the performances haven't been brilliant lately. Scoring goals has been a bit of an issue for Middlesbrough so far this season, but keeping clean sheets certainly hasn't been. So far this season, they have only conceded 8 goals in the Championship, which is absolutely mental. Going up against this Wigan side, who isn't in the best run of form currently in the Championship. They have lost their last 3 games and are yet to win a game away from home so far this season. So for that reason, I don't get the impression that there's going to be all too many goals scored in this one, really. With Middlesbrough games so far this season, that's never really been the case. I'm interested to see who leads the line for Middlesbrough in this game, whether it's still going to be Jordan Hugill, or whether Assombalonga is brought back into the side, or some other options are delved into. But for this game, I'm just going to back Middlesbrough for a slim 1-0 home victory. Like I say, I don't see too many goals being scored in that one, really, but I will back Middlesbrough for a 1-0. FIFA's going to say it'll be a 1-1 draw. Then up next, we see Norwich going up against Millwall. Norwich being one of the most informed sides in the Championship, currently sat joint top of the Championship with Leeds on 30 points. They've been playing some absolutely irresistible football lately, putting 4 goals past Sheffield Wednesday. Their attacking options are looking on absolute fire at this point in time. I love the system that they're playing as well. It's a really attractive brand of football. They keep the ball on the floor, work the opposition around. They got fullbacks bombing on, and really this Norwich side has options all over the pitch who can score goals. That's what I like about them, although they can't take penalties. That does need to be said. Going up against this Millwall side, it's an interesting game this weekend. Millwall in their last game in the Championship did come a little bit unstuck against Brentford, and I feel like this game could go down a similar path maybe. Norwich and Brentford, two sides who like to keep the ball. Millwall are obviously going to come into this game looking to be quite compact, and they do have players who can hurt Norwich on the break for this one. I don't feel like Millwall are going to see all too much of the ball in this one. We saw in their last game against Brentford only having 1 shot on target. They'll need to up their attacking threat in this game, but with how well Norwich are playing at this point in time, I've got to be backing them for all 3 points in this one here today. So I'm going to be backing Norwich for a 2-0 home victory. Like I said, their attacking options are on absolute fire at this point in time, so I'll say 2-0 Norwich. FIFA's going to say 2-0 Millwall. And then coming up next, we've got Nottingham Forest going up against Stoke City. For this game, I don't feel like there's going to be all too many goals scored, really. We saw earlier on in the season Stoke really struggling defensively, but as of late, they've been actually keeping it quite tight at the back, although that has meant that going forward, they have been struggling a little bit lately. In their last 6 Championship games, we're not seeing a game involving Stoke having more than 2 goals, so I don't feel as if this one is going to bring the most goals this weekend. We saw Nottingham Forest last weekend, they're picking up a fantastic home victory against Sheff Utd. Managing to beat them 1-0 in the end. Lewis grabbing their star player at this point in time, managing managing to score the only goal of the game, and I feel like this one is really on the knife edge. I don't feel like there's going to be all too much in it. I feel like Forest may struggle to break them down for this one. It's not going to be as easy as a lot of people maybe are anticipating with where Stoke are currently sat in the Championship. Obviously, with Forest having aspirations at the end of the season to go ahead and make the playoffs, these will be the sort of games where they are targeting to pick up all 3 points, but I don't feel like it's going to be an easy one. I'm going to back this game to finish as a 1-1 draw. I don't think there's going to be too much in it between these two sides, whereas FIFA is also going to agree with me. And another really tasty game this weekend. We've got QPR going up against Brentford, and before last weekend, these two sides were in really contrasting forms. We were seeing QPR playing some brilliant football and Brentford really slipping down the Championship. However, last weekend, that was sort of flipped around. We saw Brentford bounce back with a 2-0 home victory against Millwall, where they got a bit of their attacking mojo back, really. They were creating a lot of chances for that game and could have probably scored more than the 2 goals they eventually got. On the flip side of that, we saw QPR defeated 1-0 away at Blackburn Rovers, a game of quite a few chances, really. They were maybe a little bit unfortunate to lose that game late on, but even so, it definitely wasn't the best we've seen QPR so far this season. Back at Loftus Road for this game, though, this one could really go either way. I still maintain the fact that even when Brentford were losing games, with the way that they like to attack teams, they are still capable of walking away with 3 points from any side in the Championship, in my opinion at least. With the amount of chances they create per game, and that forward three of Canos, Ollie Watkins and Mapei is an absolute nightmare to deal with. Although QPR so far this season have had quite a few upsets, really, with some of the teams battling it out near the top of the Championship. They're a really hard working side. Their midfield has been what has impressed me the most so far this season defensively. They have also been very resilient. I feel like there will be quite a few goals scored in this game. I'm just going to back Brentford for a 2-1 away victory, although I'm not too confident in predicting that one, really. That one could really go either way. I'm excited to see the outcome. I'll say 2-1 Brentford. FIFA's going to say a 1-1 draw. And then a massive game at the bottom of the Championship. We see Reading going up against Ipswich Town. Now, Ipswich already found themselves 5 points behind Reading, and if they're not careful, you know, at the end of this weekend, Ipswich could find themselves 8 points of safety, which would be a massive mountain to climb this early on in the season. And so I feel like for both sides, really, this is the sort of must-not-lose fixture. I feel like there'll be quite a lot of nerves around this game. We saw Reading in their last game, though, pick up a fantastic home victory against Bristol City. When we see Reading playing forward with confidence, they really can go ahead and score goals past anyone. And I feel like, you know, with how Ipswich have defended so far this season, there will be a few worries in there. But talking about Ipswich, in their last game against my team, Preston, I thought there were actually quite a lot of positives to take from that game. There was a lot more spirit, a lot more resilience about this Ipswich side, and there looked to actually be a sort of tactical plan to get something out of the game. You know, with Paul Hurst, it was sort of inconsistent team selections. You'd never really know what you were going to get from Ipswich week in, week out, what sort of style of football they'll play. I feel like at least under Paul Lambert, he'll give them an identity, and they'll be a lot more hard to break down going forward this season. And for this game, it's a tough one to call. I don't feel like there's going to be all too much in it. It's going to be a very cagey game, a very tense affair this weekend, and even with Reading scoring a lot of goals so far this season and conceding a lot of goals as well, I don't feel like there'll be all too many goals scored in this game for the sheer reason it's a must not lose for either side, really. So for this game, I'm going to back it to finish as a 1-1 draw, with FIFA also agreeing with me. And then as our last game to predict this weekend, we got West Brom going up against Leeds United. Leeds currently sat top of the Championship, playing some brilliant football currently, and they've actually gone ahead and released their 3rd kit for this season the other day as well. I've got to say, I am a fan of it. A really nice yellow kit. But going into this game, Leeds coming into it on a fantastic run of form. We saw in their last game beating Wigan Athletic by 2-1. I think that since Pablo Hernandez and Barry Douglas have both come back into the side, we've seen Leeds get back to their best, really. Pablo Hernandez gives them that option going forward. Absolute elegance on the ball, manages to spin plays on the half turn, and Barry Douglas as well. His contribution to this Leeds side can't be underestimated. Going up against this West Brom side, who really aren't in the best run of form in the Championship currently. They've not picked up a win in their last 4 games. That's seen them slip out of the playoffs, and there just seems to be something about West Brom. They've lost a bit of their attacking intent, really. Going forward, they've looked very limp in their past few games. Don't get me wrong, they definitely got the players in that side to go ahead and turn that around, but lately their performance has been really stale, and going up against this Leeds side, who are as tenacious as they are off the ball, West Brom aren't going to get a lot of time to think for this game. If West Brom do manage to show up, you know, they got the players, like I said, to do it, then they can cause this Leeds side some problems going forward. But with how Leeds are currently playing and with West Brom, I'm got to be backing Leeds for all 3 points in this one. With the high pressing, high energy football that Leeds like to play, I can't see West Brom living with that for the full 90 minutes if they are continuing to play as they currently are in the Championship. So for this game, I'm going to back Leeds for a 2-1 away victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-0 Leeds. But guys, there you have it. There are my Championship score predictions for this week. So what do you guys think of them? Let me know in the comments down below. Like I said, as always guys, all this weekend's fixtures will be listed in the description down below so that you guys can easily go ahead and make your score predictions. But apart from that guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So thank you very much for watching. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.